Ravens favored by 2.5 here in Cincy this week. You've got the 2-2 Ravens and the 1-3 Cincinnati Bengals. Aaron Schatz, formerly of Football Outsiders, the founder of Football Outsiders, has his DVOA number. Is this the second time we've ever used DVOA?
Probably,
in our history? We were banned from it for years. Now we chose not to use it. He was putting something out that the Ravens are one of the best, if not the best, 2-2 team in DVOA history. So just something to.
How much of that is that one game, though?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's the efficiency that they had against Buffalo.
Yeah.
What was their Week 3 game?
Dallas.
Dallas. I mean, those two games were pretty dominant. And then when
the Dallas
and it
one,
does
though,
adjust for competition because you're looking at it was a really good Bills team that they did that to.
Yeah, but the Dallas game, they almost collapsed and threw it away. I mean, that got relatively close by the end.
They did, but they were incredibly efficient up until the garbage time part of that. Fascinating storylines here because, look, Cincinnati always starts slow and yada, yada, yada. And then they figure it out. But if they fall to 1-4, Sam,
then they're done.
Are they real? I mean,
Yeah.
I
No,
don't know.
They're done.
I don't know that anybody is really done in today's NFL.
1-4, you're done.
The record's that bad, but you're talking about a 1-point loss to Kansas City, a 1-score loss to New England, and a 1-score loss to Washington. When you have that many 1-score losses, you're never as bad as your record seems, but it's about the hole that you have to dig out of.
Yeah.
But you're telling me they can't go on a 4-game winning streak and become 5-4 at some point?
I just think, yeah, they can, but I don't know that that's going to do you any good. Like you're too far. You've lost to too many teams that are in and around the AFC playoffs at that point.
So if that happens, I mean, the Bengals, if you said after week 1, hey, Joe Burrow's going to figure it out. He's been really good these last few weeks. This offense is not what they were in week 1 where they were dinking and dunking, couldn't complete a pass over 10 yards. It's been a pretty good offense. It's just this defense, between injuries and just ineffectiveness up front, can't rush the passer, haven't stopped anybody since week 2, basically. But if you said Burrow's going to be fine, I'd say, well, the Bengals are going to be fine, right? They have enough weapons. It's all going to work out. But if they fall to 1-4, are they all of a sudden thinking about the future? Are they thinking about trading T. Higgins, who's in the last year of his deal? Do they get to that point? Or are we still a few weeks away from that? Because I'll be honest, I don't know if they're going to be able to stop Baltimore's offense.
Right.
I don't know if they could stop Baltimore the way they're playing from scoring 30 minimum.
Well, that's the sort of bigger thing is if they do fall, yeah, theoretically they could go on this run and win game. But, like, if you look at the games that they'd have lost, it probably tells you that they're just not as good a team as we thought they were going to be. You know, they're going into they did manage to snap out of it for that game against Kansas City, and they still lost that game, right? Then they got beaten by a Washington team that they simply couldn't stop. That's problematic.
But maybe nobody can stop Washington right now.
Maybe, but they got upset in week 1 by a terrible Patriots team. They beat Carolina, but it wasn't like it was a picnic. And then they'd have lost against Baltimore theoretically this week if that's what happens. And then you're like, can they go on this run? Well, yeah, but like only if they play better football. Like they can't if they still continue to not be able to stop anybody on defense. And that's their big thing. So even Carolina last week had 155 rushing yards at over 5 per clip. Like, and now you're facing Derrick Henry, who just almost hit 200 yards against Buffalo.
Only 199 the other day. Plus you have your best defensive player, Trey Hendrickson, knee injury. Not sure exactly what ends up happening with him.
And the whole defensive line is still banged up and not great.
B.J. Hill has been out. Sheldon Rankin's banged up. I mean, we've got a lot of injuries up front. That's a big factor for the Bengals, who now have they are now the leaders, if you want to call them that, in the worst pass rush grade by PFF as a team. And that's with Trey Hendrickson having games like he had against Kansas City, 6 or 7 pressures and, dominant. It is one of the worst pass rushes out beyond, especially when you take Hendrickson out of the mix. So again, they haven't tackled well. They haven't rushed the passer well. They're beat up front. The only hope for Cincinnati is, I think, a superhuman effort from Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and T. Higgins.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why I took T. Higgins later on. I'll reveal again my prize picks lineup. I'm going more on T. Higgins' receiving projection because I just think they're going to throw the ball a lot, Cincinnati. I think Baltimore knows how to slow down Jamar Chase a little bit better than maybe Washington or Carolina did. I think it's a huge T. Higgins game, but Cincinnati's going to have to try to win a shootout or, stumble into some turnovers on defense.
I mean, at the very minimum, I think they need to completely sell out against the run. Like, force them to do it in the air, right? And maybe they will, but don't let what happened to Buffalo happen to you this time. We've said before, defending the run is, generally speaking, much more of a want-to type of thing than defending across the board or defending the pass game is. Just absolutely stack the box. Throw guys, run blitz, do whatever you need to. Don't let Derrick Henry dominate this game and have you completely just getting bulldozed the way the Bills did. They get rookie Chris Jenkins back, or got him back last week. He hasn't been a huge factor, but at least it's some reinforcement coming to the defensive line. But yeah, I worry about whether they can do that at all. If they can, then yeah, Burrow and the offense need to be virtually perfect because they're going to be in this shootout. And then even if they can, you still need the offense to be good so that they can take advantage of that.
The other thing that could happen game flow wise, because when the Ravens are cooking, man, the Bills do this, the Ravens do this. When they're just feeling it, I mean, this was the last Sunday night. They were unstoppable, right? Like when Lamar Jackson is feeling it, and it's like, all right, you can't stop. If you do commit to stopping Derrick Henry, oh, by the way, I'm just going to pick up 10 yards on a keeper. Sorry. Or we're going to run play action, and there's Isaiah Likely running wide open, whatever it might be. When the Ravens are cooking, they are tough to stop. They do have that penchant for like kind of letting teams back in, right? They've blown some 10-point leads. They had one of the worst second halves of the season against the Raiders back in week 2 when they blew that lead. That's the other thing that could happen game flow wise, where Cincinnati has the firepower to make those comebacks. They just have to make a stop, right? Cincinnati did that against Washington in that Monday Night Football game. They kept coming back. They just couldn't make a stop. So game flow wise, they got to find a way to make a stop, but I'm picturing them maybe not. So I'm thinking high scoring game, one of the games of the week. But narrative wise, if Cincinnati comes out of this, look, if Baltimore comes out of this 3-2, it's like, all right, they're fine. They're on track. They should be 4-1 if they didn't blow a game against the Raiders. They're a toe away from beating Kansas City. They're fine. And then if Cincinnati ends up 1-4, it's like, okay, you are thinking about what do you do with T. Higgins and what does the rest of this season look like for Cincinnati. So it's a massive game here in week 5.
Yeah, so for the second week, I'm kind of buying into this idea that the Bengals are able to pull themselves out of it when they really, really need it, and they really, really need it now.
I know that's always been my take on the Zach Taylor era here.
Yeah, I mean, look, they did snap themselves out of it to face the Chiefs. Week 2. Okay, they lost, but they were a completely different team in that game, certainly relative to the first game, which was a disaster. They also really, really needed a win last week when it was against an Andy Dalton-led team, but was not an easy proposition. Like it's not a trap game because they really needed it, but that was a game they easily could have blown, and then their season's basically done already. So, okay, you got one back. I don't think they can afford to lose this one either. So I think they're back to you need this one too, at which point I think they find a way to making it happen.
So you're taking Cincinnati as home underdogs.
Yes.
I'm going to take the Ravens, man. I just think they're going to be – I don't see Cincinnati's defense slowing them down. I'll take Baltimore to cover the 2.5. Harry's going with the hometown Bengals. He will take the Bengals to cover the 2.5 as the underdogs. Should be one of the best games of the week.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.